Hi, I'm Angified. I started Angified Presents.
We share the love of music.
It has been medicine and therapy. Nothing else worked.
It has saved many of us. With mental health, we need to open our eyes.
Hurt people hurt people.
We ask that you listen, comprehend, and relate with your ears.
Form that heart of unity and one.
We share on this stage.
Statistics, feelings.
And ourselves.
We stand with the belief to be you, to be heard, and to be original.
We all may be different, with opinions and beliefs.
At the end of the day, we are all brothers and sisters.
We are family.
We ask that you join us in a magical journey with artists from around the world. Open your minds, let in the love,
and listen with your hearts.
We all want a better tomorrow. Be one.
Communicate and look out for one another. And then, and only then, will you find the world.
We will find peace in all the world.
You'll find the world. And you will find in this shining world. He was among us in every boy and girl. Many have been broken, red hearts turn black. Love will melt the ice and turn it back, and you will find the world. You will find the world. You will find the world. And when you find a place called home, where everyone is free to roam, a whole new world, a better place for our children's futures at stake. And you'll find, with music in your soul, laughter in your hearts, together we can grow a better place, with love in us all. And you will find, together we can save it all. And you will find, and you
PC or a Mac, and even with a mobile device. We'll be talking about it all every Thursday night, from software to plugins and synths that entice. Dive deep into tech and let creativity take flight. Talkin' IT. We're talking IT. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. From bedroom producers to seasoned pros, we're breaking it down so knowledge grows. Whether you're a DJ or a beat making wizard, we got the tips and tricks to make your sound sizzle. Mixing and mastering, that's our jam, with the tutorials and tips on how much rev. Get the best quality from your setup and gear. Tune in every week and lend us your ear. We're talking IT. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. We're talking IT. We're talking IT. Every Thursday night on Angified.
And you'll find every Thursday night, Glenn and Tony.
Right here. It's Thursday once again.
Yeah, talking shh. IT.
Quietly.
Mm-hmm,
yep. A little bit of a quieter intro today.
Well, and actually tonight's topic, one that long time coming. You know, we've been Bandlabbers now for me 5+ years, going on 6, maybe 7. It's been a while.
It's been a few.
And a lot has changed from that little platform with 14 million when I first joined. That was basically free all around. You know, in the last year and a half, 2 years, we've seen the evolution of it go into, paid options, membership options. And tonight, we're going to look at some of that, the benefits that might come with it. Something we've been asking, and we've been asked about by a lot of our family members, our users, wondering, should I subscribe? Is there a benefit to it? And hopefully, we're gonna see some of those answers and answer some of those questions tonight.
Yeah. And again, a lot of good service was available for free at the start. A lot of stuff was still available for free, even just recently. So the question is, what benefit there is from the paid services versus the free versions.
Yeah. And there still is a lot of free service that they are providing, especially when it comes to the storage of your songs and projects that you put on there. So this isn't meant to like slam or praise. It's really meant to just kind of review it from all sides. There's a lot of people who were emphatic about like how great Bandlab was, who in the last couple of years with all of this have, kind of gone to the other side, and they hate some of the changes they're seeing, or some of the community changes that have gone on. But at the same time, I still see the same kind of energy and enthusiasm that has always been there.
Right. And to me, the whole thing was always about the music itself. So the question was, are the things that we're still getting on Bandlab for free, are they still related to the music? Can you still make the music that you want to make with the tools that are available? That's the question.
Yeah. The one good thing is I am still finding great musicians and friends, and the biggest benefit I've ever had from Bandlab is still there. There's still new musicians coming, and every day we find and meet new artists that are out there.
Yeah. And again, when I first started on Bandlab all those years ago, one of the first things that I'd found was, searching for like a hashtag bass needed, because I was trying to put bass on things and I didn't want to step on toes, but there were plenty of projects out there where people had, something and they wanted to get a bass line put on it. And so they would just tag it with that. And so I just started adding to those and built some collabs from there. And all of a sudden, you build this whole community of people that you're working with.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Actually, once I realized there was a hashtag system and how to implement it, it really did change my account, my presence there, putting hashtag vocals needed, hashtagging the artists that I was covering. All of that helped to really get a lot of followers who were looking for the kind of material that I was covering.
But it didn't always have to be hashtag fire, or hashtag, greatest thing ever, that hashtag system gets abused by a lot of people in a lot of ways, but it can be very useful.
Yeah. That's where, like, I've seen over the last couple of years, the hashtagging has reached a point where they're counterproductive by hashtag trending and hashtag fire. I mean, it's not to say people don't go search those hashtags, but they're overwhelmed with irrelevant information. So,
and by all means, if the song title happens to be fire, hashtag it fire.
It's like the songs that are untitled that are actually titled untitled.
Right. Capital U, untitled. That's where you get the difference.
Let's see what we've got lined up for tonight. It was a little tricky looking for good videos about Bandlab. There's a lot of videos out there, of Bandlabbers who show what they're doing and things like that. But strangely enough, Bandlab doesn't put a lot of videos out there on their tutorials and their information. So you really do have to hunt around and use the right search terms in YouTube to even find useful videos that explain the kinds of things that we're going to look at tonight.
Right.
To the ITK. I'm on top of the world.
All right. The future of music here today.
Yes, and this is what you first see when you first go there. For those who aren't familiar with it, it's a musical social media platform, kind of like a hybrid of, imagine if Facebook had a DAW and you could go find other users and collab with them, or find tracks, and if you see that little fork button, fork it, try out your ideas on it, and then post it out there and share it with the other members of the platform.
Yep.
So to me, it really was inviting. I'm not a social media guy. I avoid Facebook like the plague, but for some reason, Bandlab appealed to me.
Yeah, same.
To be able to find a community of artists and musicians, much more interesting than just scouring Facebook walls all day and looking at memes.
Yeah, I was never really into the short form stuff like that. But with Bandlab, as you said, the collaborations was the main thing for me. Once I had followed enough people where I had a good number of people coming up on my wall, all of a sudden there was just stuff to listen to all the time and stuff to add to all the time, because the people that I had already followed, who every time they're putting stuff out, it's coming up on my feed, and I'm seeing it immediately, being able to add to it when I want to, and comment on it when I need to, and all of that. I haven't been as active on the platform as I had been in the beginning. I've been doing more stuff with the live bands lately, but at the same time, I still see the benefit in the platform for sure.
Yeah. I've also been much less active because we're doing so much, with Angified, and when they took out the streaming, it really was a buzzkill for me, because that was part of their service that really tied into like what we do here.
And it's where the show started, you know.
Yeah, it's where we started. Our first streams were
Mhm.
on Bandlab, and then we moved over to the other platforms,
Mhm.
just to get, bigger exposure.
Yep.
But it did bum me out a little bit, and since then I've been less active. Plus, one thing I've noticed in the last couple of years is there's more people that are starting to use it as a social media platform and not as a music collaboration platform. So, you know, th- I guess it's a double-edged sword. I follow a lot of people. The artists that come in, new artists that pop into our shows. I like to follow and see, where the action is. But the more people you follow, the more the noise of the wall starts to become a mixture of not just music, but here's what I had for dinner tonight.
Sure.
And, I
And it washes away a lot of the stuff where you'll miss the things that you wanted to catch. You know, somebody's, a new song by somebody that you really wanted to catch a new song from just got blown away by 10 other posts, like you said, of, dinner this, or, latest walk around the park that, that keeping it
yeah.
as music, for most of the people that I follow is good, because that way it does keep the feed very focused on the music. But as you say, the platform itself, there are, there is more variety of the types of things that you'll see on there.
Yeah. One thing I would really like to see as they keep improving their interface, is better filtering on the main wall, so that I I'd like to be able to like focus on the music posts, which are different than, like, say, the picture posts or things of that nature. And it'd be nice if you could prioritize like the artists that you really like to see focused on your wall, so that way the higher priority ones, because I miss a lot of the artists that I would like to see when I'm checking out the wall because of all that excess noise.
Yeah.
Hey, Unicorn Made Frankenstein, one of the great band labbers that I've gotten to meet over there. Great to have you.
Yeah. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. So I've got, this is our main page when you first come to BandLab, but I also put up a couple of other pages here that I think are important to be familiar with. The reason why I went to BandLab in the first place was because of Cakewalk.
Yeah.
And at the time, BandLab had taken over Cakewalk and had offered it for free. Cakewalk by BandLab was my solution when I came back into music. I wanted a DAW that I was familiar with. I've been using Cakewalk since the beginning, 1988, and I had gone to Cubase for a decade between
Sure.
2000 and 2010. When I came back to music, um, I wasn't ready to go spend $600 on Cubase, but when I found out that Cakewalk was free, integrates with the keyboards that I use,
Mhm.
I was sold. To
Yeah.
find out that it was tied to a platform like this, it was just gravy. And cakewalk.com is kind of where you want to be going to keep up with this DAW if it's been something important in your music production. I know it is for me,
Yep.
and I'm still on the fence about upgrading to this new Sonar that they're doing, but we're gonna look at some information on that, and hopefully it eases my troubled mind, and I would like to at least start testing it, but I'm not ready to stop using the Cakewalk by Bandlab because I
Right.
have 3,000 plus projects that aren't ready to go get upgraded and be stuck somewheres where I'm not sure if I'm ready to go yet. So I've been keeping an eye on cakewalk.com. This is where they are moving the products to. There's the big dog Sonar, There's Cakewalk Next, which is a nice middle of the road alternative. Feels a lot like Bandlab, except it runs as a local application. It has all the Bandlab sounds, tools, supports VSTs. So it's a nice bridge for those who might have been just using the Bandlab editor in their browser or on a mobile device. Next is kind of a step up from that without having to jump into the full blown Sonar.
Right. And that was the thing is for me, the collaborative aspect was important, but also the library aspect, having everything in one place was also very key. Having it accessible online, being able to access it from this studio at my house, and then being able to go to a friend's house and being able to log in and get to the same project and just, be able to work on it immediately. That was all positive selling points for me for the whole process in the first place.
Yeah, yeah. And what's cool with these new products, they do integrate with your Bandlab account, and your projects can be brought in, worked on, pushed back, and that's the part of it that's really appealing to me. When I first started using it, had to export as wave, bring every stem down, do everything, and then afterwards load up either stems or masters. And this is hopefully going to make things a lot more smoother on the workflow.
Yeah. And even every one of those conversions, not just an extra step, but also an extra place where you can introduce noise, you can introduce errors, you can all kinds of problems can start stepping or seeping into projects when you start having issues like that.
Yeah, yeah. And another page I wanted to bring up and mention, one that a lot of people don't even know exists, because Bandlab does not actually advertise this page on on Bandlab. Like, you really have to go hunt to find blog.bandlab.com. And if you do use Bandlab, this is a good site for just keeping up with some of the new things that they're doing. You see these videos that they have on here, they do actually offer some tips on how to do this and how to do that. Sometimes they mention, features that are coming out, things that are actually important that you don't see when you're on the platform.
Right.
And in the old days, when they used to have the contests, this is where they would announce, give the information, and announce the winners. Now that they don't have those anymore, I feel like a lot of the new users don't ever even find this page, and they should know it exists.
Yeah. And again, it depends what they're looking for on the platform. Like in some cases, they might only be looking at the community. They might only be looking at the DAW. Different people are there for different reasons, as we said, but everybody being aware that it's there should introduce them to the other areas as well.
Yeah. Yes. See, Uni agrees with me on ways to filter and search are still clunky. They could be improved on. And, just like the hashtag system, filtering and things kind of make or break a platform. So I hope that they consider that as important when it comes to their interface as the interface itself.
Yeah.
So, and the last tab that I wanted to show here, because we're going to be talking about this at the end, the terms of use. Everybody should get familiar with this page, and we've got a great video at the end that's going to go through this and really highlight some of the things that all artists who use Bandlab should be familiar with, should be aware of. What you're doing with your music and your content, you need to be aware of these things. And just like the community guidelines is another thing that you have to get more familiar with, because you could end up with a message saying your account's been disabled because of infringing on community guidelines, which seem to be constantly changing at the moment. And there's a lot of people who are just being surprised one day when their account's disabled for a couple of days or a week. We had to delay the WAG till next week because one of our judges and several of our contestants, their accounts were disabled for spam that they were not doing. And
Mm-hmm.
this is something that, like, hopefully they get more on the ball with and people get more familiar with, so that way they can hopefully avoid some of these things.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So for the videos that we do have tonight, there's a little bit of promotion. To start off, we're going to look at Bandlab's main video on why you might want to consider membership. When they first came out with it, this was the initial video that helped to like describe the benefits and get users to understand that, hey, with these paid benefits, there are additional features. And it wasn't just like taking the features they already had and then locking them behind a paid account. For the most part, the free features that they've had have continued to be free. They've added new features. So
added functionality. Yeah.
So we're going to look at like what some of these additional features are. And that's coming directly from the horse's mouth here. That's from Bandlab's YouTube page. And then I wanted to include a user's review and perspective on a paid membership and the benefits they found from it, what they used and felt was useful for a paid membership.
Nice.
And then to get into the what's going on with Cakewalk, because last month, about a month and a half ago, they started hinting that there was going to be a free tier version of Cakewalk Sonar, which I'm glad that they considered and are doing that. It was kind of a tough sell to say, hey, Cakewalk's going from free to paid only. I'm glad that they're at least finding a middle compromise there, and you can actually get Sonar for free. It has some limitations, and that's what this video is gonna help to do, is explain to some extent some of that and why the changes. It's coming from Creative Sauce. Mike, great to have you back in action, and great to have a topic where he is the one who really got me back into Cakewalk. When I jumped back into it, it was this channel that completely helped me to understand everything I needed to relearn and to go forward with Cakewalk.
And in such an informative and approachable way as well.
Yeah. And this second Cakewalk video, this one goes a little further. It comes from Audio Tech TV, another channel that has really become like one of my go-to favorites for the reviews and the news. He's the one who kind of let me know that, like, hey, Cakewalk's going to have a free tier. And when Cakewalk was actually moving to Sonar and all of that, this is where I got that news from. So Audio Tech TV is going to talk about the limitations of the free Cakewalk Sonar and Next, because I wasn't even aware that Next had a free tier now too. And I'm glad that Bandlab is doing that to help ease people into the products. And I think it's important to know where the limitations are. So I'm really glad I found this one.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be finishing off with Miss Crystal. Every artist and musician should know her by now. The legal music advice that you get from her channels. And it turns out she's got two of them. You know, we were already following her on Top Music Attorney, but she also has another mothership on YouTube with Delgado Entertainment Law. That's her law firm. And there's just as much, you know, good information and useful information on that channel. So, like, I got it from this channel so that way we can kind of show both her channels tonight in one fell swoop. And what's awesome about this video is that she does go through that terms of service and highlights all the important things that you can't ignore as an artist when you agree and sign up. You really need to know what you're signing up for. She gives a fair assessment of it, totally looks at it both mainly as a lawyer. You know, she gets through the legalese, but she also does it fairly. She's a musician herself. She knows what it means to sign away your musical rights, and she really digs into those terms of service to find the legalese that's hiding in there.
Yep, find those nuggets that you need to be aware of.
Yeah. So we're going to start with the promotional video. You know, for those who might not be on Bandlab yet, or those who are on Bandlab and considering becoming a member, let's find out like why you might want to consider membership and subscription and see if there is some benefits to it. And that one comes, like I said, right from the horse's mouth at Bandlab on YouTube. They do have lots of videos in here. A lot of them are like artists kind of showing, you know, different techniques and things of that nature. I would like to see more art videos on the actual services and the benefits of membership. You know, you would think they would put more promotional videos in here to kind of help people to understand what you're getting when you go to Bandlab, especially when you subscribe as a member. A lot of it gets done by the Bandlabbers themselves on their own YouTubes, but this video does actually get you started, like introduces the idea of a membership and how it can propel your creativity.
Let's check it out.
What's up, it's your boy Eldre, aka the Lo-Fi Guy, and today I'm excited to tell you about the revamped Bandlab membership and its incredible features. Whether you're an aspiring musician or a seasoned artist, Bandlab membership has 3 main perks that keep expanding to help you in your musical journey. We're talking exclusive tools to empower creation, artist services to fuel your growth, and platform perks to help you stand out on Bandlab. First up, let's dive into some exclusive tools that empower creation. Bandlab membership gives you access to some amazing tools, including some early access experimental features. For example, the AI vocal cleaner beta can help you get clean vocal takes anywhere. Let's try it out. Yo, it's Eldre, all day, real rap, never fake. Let's hear it. Yo, it's Eldre, all day, real rap, never fake. Yeah, quite a bit of background noise. Tap the waveform, tap the 3 dots, and hit voice cleaner. All right. Let's hear it. Yo, it's Eldre, all day, real rap, never fake. And with AI voice to MIDI beta, you can sing or hum to turn your voice into over 330 different virtual instruments. Let's try this. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Let's put auto pitch on, bro. Come on. Heaviest. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Let's see if it can handle that. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Yeah, I mean, clearly I was off key, but it works. That's sick. Remember, it's all import a song. Let's do something by me and my wife. Elegant and sweet. Hit split. Is there guitar? I don't know. Let's see. Oh, it looks like if you're a member, you get placed at the front of the queue. Sick. Let's hear it. Yeah, there's no guitar, so you know, a lot of these AIs, they be lying. They might throw some guitar in there anyway. Ooh, drums are sounding clean.
I'd like to have you by my side. To my
Yeah, that's dope. Auto key beta auto detects the key and inputs it into auto pitch. Let's try out auto key with one of my songs. So tap that, 3 dots, auto detect key. Let's see. It should be C major. C major is correct. And then there's Smart Tools Beta, which leverages AI to generate new instruments based on your original MIDI input. You can extend, recompose, or layer your tracks with these tools. Extend automatically extends a MIDI track by generating the selected number of bars. Recompose generates a creative variation of a musical section. And layer generates drum and bass tracks to accompany your MIDI input. Let's pull up a virtual instrument. Let's just do like a piano. I'm not the best at keys, but luckily they got a smart grid and we can also do different keys and whatnot. Let's just stick with C major to keep it real simple. Now, if we wanted to mess around with it with the smart tools, we tap it, we hit the 3 dots, we hit smart tools, and boom, there you go. Layer, extend, recompose. Now, let's say I didn't like those chords. Let's hit recompose, and let's hear what it came up with. That's not bad. So let's go back to my melody. Let's try layer. Hit the 3 dots, hit smart tools. You know the drill by now. And let's layer it. All right, let's say I wanted to extend this. Let's say I wanted to come up with a new bass line maybe. Let's hit the 3 dots, let's hit Smart Tools, and let's hit extend another 4 bars and see if it comes up with an extra melody. Let's loop these drums too, see what it comes up with. Okay, that was kind of fire. All right. Depending on what you give to it, it could come out with something better. I just so happen to put in some pretty lame chords, if I'm being honest, but the potential is there. And for mastering, there are 4 new presets designed for more genres and styles, with intensity controls for light, normal, or heavy settings by dragging a slider. Now, this insane pool of tools is always expanding with constant new additions to keep the creative juices flowing. All right, let's test out mastering. Boom, there it is. It's nice and purple. Import your track. Let's go to Browse Files. And let's just find an old beat, throw in there. Damn, that was really quick. All right, so we got universal, normal, clarity, tape. The new ones are natural, spatial, cinematic, and punch. So this is the original versus master. Let's try out the new ones. Natural. Spatial. Punch. Oh, whoa. Punch is crazy. Let's mess with the slider. Honestly, light punch might be what most people are looking for. Compared to the original. It's hitting a lot harder. Let's try cinematic again though, because cinematic had a nice feel to it. Compared to the original. Some cinematic adds like a vibe to it. Let's try spatial one more time. I like spatial a lot. My favorite might be punch on the light setting. That might actually get you.
So that is a good overview of the initial benefits that you're going to get. Oop, muted. Mute the Glenn.
Shame. I hit it. I was just off to the side a little bit. But yeah, it's just one of those things, always good. But I saw some of those other features there. Definitely cool. The extending the voice to MIDI, like that's something that I did not see the last time I was in there. So it's been a while since I had checked anything out.
Yes, there's a few things that were added after this video. The song starter got more advanced.
Right.
The splitter got more advanced. If you do actually need to split, guitar seems to be the one that like having the paid membership benefits, because it's not that you can't split the guitar on the free side, but it gets blended sometimes with other, like the bass or other instruments, and you really can only split 3 to 4 with the basic account, whereas with the advanced account you can get better splits of everything. Seems to be a little cleaner. Drums benefit the best out of the splitter, like getting those drums isolated, that's useful.
Yeah. Now with the guitars, I could also understand it being a little bit more difficult, especially because a lot of the guitars, it's multiple layers. There's the effects. There's so many different things going on with guitars where you could actually have, you might think there are 6 separate guitars in there that is trying to split all out into their own parts.
Yeah, and the same goes with like vocal layers, whether you want the backing vocals and the main vocals, things like that.
With those, I'm guessing that the actual voice print is identifiable enough where the software, once it locks onto one of the samples, it probably can separate that out pretty easily. But with the guitars, they're so similar in tone that they probably just kind of all wash together if it's trying to separate multiple guitar signals from each other.
Yeah, and there are other splitters that are out there. AI music splitters are definitely moving fast and furious right now. Moises is one that I've played with that's real impressive.
Nice.
But if you're gonna spend here, depending on what you're spending, versus getting it as part of a bundle with Bandlab, and the fact that they've got this feature in there, that is a useful feature to consider as part of what your bundle is. And they have gone down on the prices. You keep an eye out there, you're seeing the $6 to $7 range is kind of what they're targeting if you're willing to get it for a 12-month.
Yeah.
But do like he said, try the 3-day trial and see how it works for you, and then consider if you can get it in the $7 range. That's actually, that's in my ballpark of affordable. When it gets over $10, you got to justify it just like your Netflix. Like, how much do you want to spend per month for the features?
Yeah.
But the
and
good
a lot of
thing
people,
is,
the answer is 0. But there are people who could be swayed into something. And as you said, it's a reasonable point to jump into. It's not an immediate jump to hundreds of dollars a month or something like that. So.
Yeah, I think the ones who really take their music serious and the promotion of themselves as an artist, they see the benefits much quicker. The ability to build these campaigns and things like that, those are good starting points. They're trying to get useful features that will appeal to the serious artist, and those are good starts.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, for our second video, we're going to actually hear from a Bandlabber, who dove in and tried it out. So, I really wanted to see, what a user's reaction is after getting the subscription and utilizing it, what features they found compelling and useful to them, because that's where the real proof is in the pudding.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and young KD hooked me up with a actual review. And believe me, like I said, I really was hunting around to try to find them. Um, there's not a lot of them out there. So thank you at underscore young KD for like actually making a video to cover the benefits of being a member and what you found useful.
Right.
Then he says Bandlab's new membership is crazy.
Nice.
Yo, what's going on YouTube? Hey, it's your boy Young KD, not the old one. Hey, it's super sunny outside right now. Hey, today I'm gonna be going over the new membership on Bandlab, man. Got a lot of cool new updates on it, and I'm trying it out for y'all so y'all don't gotta buy it, so y'all can see if y'all want it or not, man. Without further ado, man, let's listen to the song that we mixed with some of the effects on Bandlab new membership. The same song from last video, so if y'all already heard it, y'all can skip it. But the quality is better because I use some of the new effects for the membership. But hey, man, let's go.
Young nigga so high, I just popped the in. Way too hot, way too hot, way too hot. Way too hot, way too hot, way too hot. Connect my ears on froze. Bad that bitch she chose. You nigga don't stick to the code. Young nigga stay on the road. On the tight, nigga roll the whole 3-5. If you fuck with me, you better be down to ride. Don't you fuck with me unless you ready to die. Hop out with a black coat with a glove, nigga like a spy.
I'm gonna show y'all what they let you know once you get the membership, what they show you, everything that you get. Let me show y'all that right now. Hey, the two main things that I like the best out of the whole membership is the EQ, the customizable EQ. It's not a graphic EQ, it's like a parametric EQ. That comes in handy, man. It's very effective. And people that got the membership, they can add more effects on their vocals instead of just 8. Also, the natural sounding auto-tune, man, they got a natural mode, man. It makes it sound a lot better. Let me show y'all everything right now. Let's go over some of these effects and stuff. Right now, I'm about to show y'all how to work the EQ and how to work the natural auto-tune, and I'm gonna go over some of the other settings and everything with y'all. Let's go ahead and jump into this membership, man, and see what's going on. Okay, if you know anything about EQ, y'all know we gotta search around and find the band frequencies. So what you wanna do is make your this band right here, make it narrow, make it thin as possible, or thin as you want. Go up, sweep around left and right until you hear a really bad frequency. But keep in mind when you boost up that high and you search through, everything gonna sound bad. So just go for the worst frequencies and you dip it down a little bit until it sounds better. I'm gonna show y'all how I did that right now.
Tight nigga roll the whole 3-5. If you fuck with me, you better be down to ride. On the tight nigga roll the whole 3-5. If you fuck with me, you better be down to ride. On the tight nigga roll the whole 3-5. If you fuck with me, you better be down to ride. On the tight nigga roll the whole 3.
Yes, man, this sounds way better than the graphic EQ. It's a lot more control. But even though I got the membership for the little 3-day trial, I'll still be using the graphic EQ too, because it's just simple to use and you can still take out bad frequencies. And I'm so used to it, man, you know what I'm saying? But the natural auto-tune, let's go over that right now, versus the classic, so I can see how it sounds.
Blood nigga like a spy. Hop out with a black coat with a glove, nigga like a spy. Hop out with a black coat with a glove, nigga like a spy. Hop out with a black coat with a glove, nigga like a spy. Hop out with a black coat with a glove, nigga like a spy.
Murder and rum, what the fuck you thought? Must've thought I was dumb. They know I'm on my mind. You'll get hit with drums. Murder and rum, what the fuck you thought? Must've thought I was dumb. They know I'm on my mind. You'll get hit with drums. Murder and rum. What the fuck you thought? Musta thought I was dumb. They know I'm on my mind. You'll get hit with drums.
Walk around these beats with about 20 bands. Young nigga so high, I just popped the sand. Way too high, way too high. Walk around these beats with about 20 bands. Young nigga so high, I just popped the sand. Way too high, way too high. Walk around these beats with about 20 bands. Young nigga so high, I just popped the sand. Way too high, way too high. Walk around these beats with about 20 bands. Young nigga so high, I just popped the sand. Way too high, way too high. Walk around these beats with about 20 bands. Young nigga so high, I just popped the sand. Way too high, way too high. Walk around these beats with about 20 bands. Young nigga so high, I just popped the sand. Way too high, way too high. Walk around these beats with about 20 bands. Young nigga so high, I just popped the sand. Way too high, way too high. Walk around these beats with about 20 bands. Young nigga so high, I just popped the sand. Way too high, way too high. Walk around these beats with about 20 bands. Young nigga so high, I just popped the sand. Way too high, way too high. Walk around these beats with about 20 bands. Young nigga so high, I just popped the sand. Way too high, way too high. Walk around these beats with about 20 bands. Young nigga so high, I just popped the sand. Way too high, way too high. Walk around these beats with about 20 bands. Young nigga so high, I just popped the sand. Way too high, way too high. Walk around these beats with about 20 bands. Young nigga so high, I just popped the sand. Walk around these beats with about 20 bands. Young nigga so high, I just popped the sand. Way too high, way too high, way too high. Way too high, way too high, way too high. My neck, my ears on froze. Bad that bitch, she chose. These niggas don't stick to the code. Young niggas stay on the road. Way too high, way too high, way too high. Way too high, way too high, way too high. On the tight, nigga roll the whole 3-5. If you fuck with me, you better be down to ride. Don't you fuck with me unless you ready to die. Hop out with a black coat, with a glove, nigga like a spy. Hop out. Hop out. Way too high, way too high, way too high. Way too high, way too high, way too high. On the tight, nigga roll the whole 3-5. If you fuck with me, you better be down to ride. Don't you fuck with me unless you ready to die. Hop out with a black coat, with a glove, nigga like a spy.
Yes, sir, man. Y'all boy, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like and comment. Plenty new content like this coming in the future. I'm gonna have FL Studio content soon. Waves plugins. I'm gonna go over. I'm gonna be reviewing Wave plugins, doing everything, man. I'm gonna get like either a mini K87 microphone with an audio interface, or I'm gonna get the OC16. Either way, I'm gonna spend about $400 to $500 on the mic, man. So y'all got some good songs coming soon with some good tutorials and presets. Hey, I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one, man. Y'all make sure to hit my Instagram, YSLKD__. If you need a song mix, and I'm gonna rock with you.
Now, what I liked there is he showed the members' benefits from like the effect side and what you get for additional effects. And some mentioned the visual EQ and some other things that you'll get with the paid benefits. That's the thing that like Bandlab fails to mention in their promotional videos. They target like how they can help promote you and set up the campaigns, but they don't mention that like the tools are actually enhanced with the membership, which is actually important. You need to see these things in action.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, people look at it two different ways. Like people would see it as, the paid membership has additional benefits, or they would see it as the free version has benefits turned off, or features disabled,
Well,
that's the way they would look at it.
And if you are like going at it from the free perspective and you try to bring up something or you try to make it an adjustment that you can't, like for the mastering, for example, there's a slider that lets you adjust how much the mastering is affecting things. The moment you try to do it, it reminds you that this is a paid benefit.
Right. And some people get very annoyed by that kind of reminder happening frequently if it's the kind of thing that keeps coming up. Like if you try to do this and then it comes up, and you try to do that and it comes up, they might just say, well, you know. But again, some people would see it as a selling point and say, oh, well, now I know where to get that, and I see where to get this, and I see where to get that. And enough of the features pile up to what they, say, okay, I want all of those features, so I'll go ahead and I'll do it.
Yeah, if you find yourself constantly hitting a button in Bandlab that's like popping up and saying you need the paid benefit, true, it is a little disconcerting, concerted. But if you find yourself constantly seeing that, you're wanting to use features that kind of remind you, like you might find a benefit from being a paid member.
Yep. And again, it's always both sides. Like, you see the benefit side, and you also see the dangling something in front of you and saying, oh, you can't have that. Some people see it that way.
Yes, and Cole is the artist of the week. Congratulations. Well deserved.
Right.
So thank you at _YoungKD for showing us there are some actual benefits hiding in those effects and things like that. That's just as important as the other tools that you see on the surface there.
Yep, absolutely.
And one of, I think, the most compelling reasons that's probably going to eventually get me to up into a membership is that Sonar does come with membership. And considering the value that I get out of it, it might be worth it for someone like me who is a hardcore Cakewalk user, and I really don't want to have to switch DAWs if it's a reasonable move cost. And when I look at a year's membership, especially if you do catch it on like a Black Friday kind of sale situation, I can see going for a year's worth just for the sake of Sonar. That alone is a compelling reason for me.
Yep. And as you said, it probably happens multiple times a year too. So.
Yeah, and right now, I'm loading up my Cakewalk, and I'm getting the message saying, "Hey, Cakewalk for Bandlab is going away, and you're gonna want to like shift to the free Sonar tier," which I don't like the idea of shifting to a limited functionality version of a DAW that I'm a power user. I'm going
I was
to
gonna say,
notice,
particularly for you, the number of tracks that you use on a general project or random project is insane.
Yeah, and that's another thing to mention on the paid benefits is if 16 tracks aren't enough for you, if you find yourself constantly hitting that 16 track and having to merge and do things, you do get more tracks with the paid membership. So that's another bonus there.
Whereas if you're on the other side of that and you're always doing everything as a 1 or 2 track recording and building layers up from there, then you wouldn't necessarily need functionality beyond 16 channels. That might be more than you would ever use for a project.
Yeah.
But somebody like Tony, like he can't get down to 16 tracks without major difficulty.
Even with the paid tier on Bandlab, it's not enough tracks. I average 50 plus typically per project. So especially when vocals start to get into the mix, because layering vocals and backing vocals and all of that can be 20 plus tracks sometimes themselves.
Yeah.
So for this video, we're going to start to look into the Cakewalk side of these benefits, and you don't have to be a paid member to get into Sonar. There is now a free tier. But if you do need those extra features and things like that, that is a benefit for those who do become members. This one's coming from @Creative Sauce. Mike, love this channel as a Cakewalk user. Like I said, got me back into Cakewalk, helped me to understand like all the changes that had gone on, where everything is. His tutorials for Cakewalk are the easiest to soak up and understand, and watching even 15, 20 minutes of him explaining will save you hours and hours of work afterwards and really speed up your workflow.
Exactly. And all well demonstrated.
And he had kind of an identity crisis when Cakewalk for Bandlab was getting discontinued, and for a few months, this was the channel I was following to see what he was gonna do and whether he was gonna, just kind of shift into a different DAW direction or kind of ride it out. And it does look like he's not abandoning Cakewalk, which thank God. If I do stick with it, I kind of need him to help me adjust. He's the perfect channel to help with this DAW.
Yep. And again, we've worked with a few DAWs for a few days each. So, we've got some experience in digging into these things too. So a lot of the stuff, the more you work with more different DAWs, the more, the easier I find it to find my way around in a new one, or the more that I would just dive right in, like just launch into something and just start hitting things and finding my way around, and it all just kind of starts to make sense because of in this one looks kind of like it does in Reaper, or this looks kind of like it does in Bandlab or whatever. Like you'll see a similarities to one of the other DAWs to find your way to what you're looking for.
Yeah, a lot of times it's just translating. This is over here, and in this one it's over here. Most of it is the same things conceptually.
Right.
Once in a while, you will get something that's the same, but it's worded differently. For instance, with Reaper, how they address buses and groups it is a little different than Cakewalk. So it takes a moment to reprogram your brain to understand the signal routing differences. But for the most part, conceptually, they're doing the same things.
Yeah, I had a similar thing with mixing with the Personas versus on the X32, where if you're looking at let's say you're looking at a vocal mic and you want to see where that vocal mic is going as far as all the different aux channels, and then you want to also look at the vocal monitor and see everything that's going into that with all the levels. And it's like with both DAWs, you can easily get from one to the other, but it's just a different way of kind of accessing it. And you're telling it, on this one you're telling it, show me all the places you're sending that signal, where on this one you're going to the actual monitor itself and seeing all the incoming signals. So it's just a different way of looking at it, but it's just interesting to see that even with the different methods, you can still always get to what you need to get to. So
yeah, you just need to learn how to get there sometimes.
Exactly. Yep.
So Mike's gonna talk about the Cakewalk Sonar free tier and explain it a little better so that we understand what this option is.
Yeah, take it away, Mike.
Creative sauce. He really is.
Oh yeah.
The new Cakewalk Sonar free tier is here, and I'm here to explain it. This video is sponsored by DistroKid. Follow the VIP link in the description down below to get 7% off an already amazing price to distribute your music to the world. In 2017, Gibson, who owned Cakewalk at the time, announced that they would no longer be developing it. Then in 2018, we learned that it had been acquired by Bandlab, and they were releasing a free version of it called Cakewalk by Bandlab. Fast forward to 2023, and we heard that Cakewalk by Bandlab would now be entering a kind of a maintenance mode, and they were releasing a new paid version of it called Cakewalk Sonar. Now, we've subsequently learned that the way that you could pay for it was with a Bandlab membership, which includes lots of other things as well. Now, in the last couple of weeks or so, they've announced a new free tier for Cakewalk Sonar. And they've also announced that soon you will no longer be able to activate your old Cakewalk by Bandlab. Now, I've observed some confusion in the community during the last couple of weeks. So in this video, I'm going to attempt to answer what I think are the top 5 questions that I've seen on this topic. What will happen to Cakewalk by Bandlab? Well, if you've been using this software, you'll know that it was required that you had a Bandlab account and that you used that to activate the software periodically. Now, don't quote me on this, but I believe that activation period was 6 months. So every 6 months, you would have to reactivate the software. Now, importantly, what they've announced is that after the 1st of August 2025, activation or reactivation will no longer be possible. But they have said that existing activated installations will continue to work until that activation expires, which, as I say, I think is 6 months. Now, the long and the short of it is that eventually your Cakewalk by Bandlab installation is no longer going to be activatable. Is that a word? I think it is. And it will be save disabled. You won't be able to export from it, etc. So eventually, if you want to continue to use the Cakewalk product, you'll either need to use the new free tier or use the paid Cakewalk Sonar. So what is Cakewalk Sonar free tier? Well, basically, as you may have guessed, it's a cut down version of Cakewalk Sonar. But I want to emphasize at this point, I don't feel this is like a really crippled version of that software. It's not a situation where you're going to think, realistically, I have to get the paid version to make a professional sounding production. That's not true at all. You still get like unlimited tracks. You've got your audio, you've got your MIDI, you can use VST plugins, still got ARA support, it's still got the Pro channel, it's got loads and loads of good stuff that you expect to see in a Cakewalk product. But there are a few things worth making note of. First of all, when you first open it, you get a 10-second splash screen. So it's a good time to be plugging in your mic, your guitar, and just preparing for your session, whatever it takes you 10 seconds to do. The next thing that you will notice is that you can only have one arranger track. Some of you are going to be thinking, what's the arranger track? Because many of you have used this product for years and years and perhaps never even used this and made some great productions. So I think that one's absolutely fine unless you have a specific need for it. We don't get any per plugin oversampling. You can't use power dithering when you export. And I guess that's going to be something that a lot of you are going to think, didn't know that existed. Anyway, the track manager and jump to track panes, these are kind of newish features, are grayed out. You don't get the Elastic Pro stretch mode when you're talking about doing sort of like audio snapping and things like that. And you don't get access, or you can't use the Bandlab library of like sound loops. You can preview them, you can browse them, you just can't make use of them without a paid membership. And I think that for many of you, you're going to be thinking, like, none of those things are going to make any difference to me whatsoever. So that's great, in my opinion. Now, we don't know whether they're going to add new features in the future to the paid product, which are not going to make it through to this free tier. I'm going to suspect that's probably going to be the case, because otherwise, what's the point in the paid product? But, you know, the core functionality that we get here is the functionality that you can use to produce a professional sounding recording. Will my old Cakewalk by Bandlab projects open in the new free tier? Well, the answer to this is yes. And in fact, I've tested this myself and had no problem whatsoever. Can I install the free tier alongside Cakewalk by Bandlab? The answer is yes, you can do that, and they both continue to work perfectly fine. Now, the one thing I did notice during installation was that my choice of where I could install my VSTs, etc., was grayed out. I don't know whether that's because it was just using the choices that I had already set up in Cakewalk by Bandlab. Don't quote me on that, but I suspect that may have been the case. In any case, once you've got the new free tier installed, you can go into preferences and set up all of your VST locations anyway. How offline friendly is Cakewalk Sonar? Now, many people like to use their music production PC offline, not connected to the internet. Now, me personally, it's been quite a number of years since I felt the need for that, but it is your choice, so you may like to know. And I've seen just a little bit of confusion about this. You don't need to be online to use Cakewalk Sonar. You do have to obviously activate it, and for that you'll need an online connection. But once you've activated it, you can go offline and Cakewalk Sonar will continue to work. It's important, however, this is a mistake that I've seen some people make, that you don't actually sign out. That will sort of remove the activation. So you just need to momentarily be connected to the internet, do your activation, and then you can disconnect your computer from the internet until the next time activation is required. Now, don't forget, when you have created your masterpiece and you want to release it to places like Spotify, Amazon, Google Play, etc., follow the link in the description to our sponsor DistroKid. If you follow that VIP link, you'll get 7% off of your first year of membership. Also, don't forget to let us all know in the comments down below how you feel about this new page in the history of Cakewalk. Thank you so much for watching today. I'm Mike. I hope you're well, and I'll see you in the next video.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
I am a little more well hearing what he said there. He addressed most of my concerns when it comes to possibly running both, at least for a while. And if it is a 6-month activation thing, and I don't know when they're gonna like cut it off, if come August I can at least use the Cakewalk by Bandlab up until that November-ish period, I might take advantage of that Black Friday special to shift, and that'll give me a couple of months where I can sort of try them both out. I'm going to test that on this music machine this weekend. Now that I've heard good advice there that they can run together, I don't want it to just like stomp on my current installation. And
well, I was going to say, you're one of the people I know who has multiple, machines around that you could make into music machines, quite effectively.
Well, the main music machine, the one over there, is not going to any new version until I've tested it, at least on my baby music machine.
Yeah, exactly. And we also talked about the virtual machines at one point when we were starting to put all kinds of different things together to talk about, looking at all the different DAWs and looking at all the different interfaces and seeing how everything looked, being able to test them in a sandbox like that. We have that option as well.
Well, that's the nice thing about this one. This one does have a virtual machine engine that I can actually just do it through there first, see what and I like to see it from a fresh install perspective. So rather than trying to do it on this cluttered up box, I'll create a fresh new Windows, go through the process of putting each one on and see what it's like to start with a clean machine.
Exactly. That's the old desktop engineering way to do it.
Yes, I'm relieved to hear his advice there, and the fact that he's not going negative on all of it. He still sees Cakewalk as a potential future in his use, and if it is for him, then it is for me.
And as you mentioned, many users, and it might even be most users, wouldn't see any of those features that he said that were not available as game changers or showstoppers.
The time stretching was actually the one that I was like, I don't use it a lot, but to not have it would be kind of a buzz. There are times where like being able to stretch or compress that wave to speed it up or slow it down, does come in handy.
It also
Not a
can
lot,
happen
but
if it happens by accident, it can be very messy too, because that can, like, throw a little stretch into something and all of a sudden it doesn't line up anymore. And you're like, what happened? Why isn't it working? And you gotta, if you don't go back and you just try to, like, some people, they don't do the whole, oh, something went wrong, so go back until it was right and then go forward again from there. They just try to refix it from where it was, and it just makes it worse and worse each time.
Yeah, the other two things, the offline, the ability to go offline, and yes, you do have to connect to activate, but to me, it is kind of important to be able to use your DAW offline, because in some cases, like things like Wi-Fi sometimes really can gum up a music machine. You really want to disable it if you can, because it just gets in the way. And the dithering, not a super big deal. Most people don't even know what it is or what the benefits of it are. But if you are like upscaling or downscaling, if you're going from 44 to 48 or 96, and you're going back and forth between these things, dithering can sometimes be a necessity in order to avoid artifacts.
Yeah, those are never good.
Yeah. So thank you, Mike. You put a lot of my concerns at ease.
Well done.
And I was really curious as to the limitations. Mike did address some of them, and come to find out that Cakewalk Next also is creating a free tier. So I'm not as likely as some users to really go to Cakewalk Next for anything. But the one interesting thing about it, if if you are dealing with Bandlab projects where the MIDI and the patches, the effects that are part of that Bandlab project are important to be able to bring to your local environment and still work with those effects and their synthesizer engines and things of that nature. Next does that, whereas I don't see that as a feature in Sonar. So if I do want to incorporate like Bandlab effects from the project, or utilize some of the MIDI with their sound engine, I can't see myself actually like downgrading to their synthesizers when I, put so much into the ones that I use. But at the same time, it's nice to have that option of taking a one for one from the Bandlab project and being able to bring it to a local application to use.
Sure.
So hearing that there's a Cakewalk Next free tier, I may play around with that one and, see if that free tier has some usefulness to me. It's the Sonar that they will eventually probably hook me in with.
Right. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Yeah. So Audio Tech TV, at Audio Tech TV over on YouTube, channel we found about a year ago as we were looking at some gear review and one of our news nights. And thank God, like we come across channels like this. It has become such a useful resource to me when it comes to gear reviews, especially. He reviews some awesome stuff, a lot of gear that we tend to deal with some of our members, and he really covers them fantastic. And for this video, he's going to explain these limitations with these free tiers, both for Sonar and Cakewalk Next.
All right.
The free Cakewalk by Bandlab is being phased out, but you can get the new Cakewalk Sonar and Cakewalk Next for free. So let's have a look at what you get in the free versions of these programs, as it does differ from if you have a Bandlab membership, but I think for most of us, the free versions are going to be enough. So let's start quickly with Cakewalk Next. This is the newest DAW from Cakewalk in terms of the actual program itself. It's a more modern and streamlined DAW that's similar to their online Bandlab program, but this one gets installed on your computer, which means you can use your plugins, whatever ones you have on your computer, and it also means that you can do low latency recording and monitoring. Another cool thing about Cakewalk Next and Cakewalk Sonar is if we have this project here and we want to load this now in Cakewalk Sonar, we can go to export to CXF, and that will export this project so we can use it in Cakewalk Sonar. And that's exactly what I've done here. I actually saved it in Sonar and then brought it over here. So I'll just show you here in Sonar very quick. It's the same project, except for I have access now to all of the tools that Cakewalk Sonar provides. But let's just go back to Next really quick. What's the difference between the free version, which I'm using here, and if you have a Bandlab membership, because that does unlock some things. So basically the free version is the fully unlocked program. You have unlimited tracks. You can bring in your third-party plugins, all of that fun stuff. Now, if you have a Bandlab membership, you have unlimited access to Bandlab sounds, which are over here. And you can see the Bandlab sounds. It tells you to sign in over here and you get unlimited access. Plus you have unlimited access to their online splitter stem separation tool. For most musicians just wanting to make some music at home, this free version, which is the unlocked program, except for the unlimited access to loops and stem separation, this one is going to be enough for most people. Cakewalk Next is really geared towards the home studio musician or producer that wants a modern, straightforward program that does still have some high quality features, but maybe not all of the pro features that a more advanced user would want. And that's where Cakewalk Sonar comes in. This is the more professional grade DAW that has the advanced features along with the more traditional workflow and the modern workflow, because you also do get that matrix view that some users like, where you can do your clip launching in here, similar to Ableton Live. So there are some modern features in here. This is just a more traditional user interface and workflow. But with that more traditional user interface and workflow, you do have access to more stuff, like the integrated channel strip on every track. So we can go in here and we can see this is the EQ on the channel strip. And if you've been using Cakewalk by Bandlab, you'll instantly notice that Cakewalk Sonar is much better looking. The user interface has a much higher resolution, makes it look nice. It will make it easier to do fine tuning on plugins and settings. So it does make the program feel like it's more modern just looking at the program. What are the limitations of this free version of Cakewalk Sonar? Because you can also unlock some things with the membership, as you see here, upgrade your experience with membership. Similar to Cakewalk Next, you don't have that unlimited integrated access to loops and samples from their sounds library. And another limitation in here is you can't do plugin oversampling in this free version. If you have a membership, you can. And Elastic Pro time stretching isn't available in the free version, but you can still do the Elastic Efficient. It's just not the Elastic Pro stretching. Another limitation in this free version is that you can't have multiple arranger tracks. You will be able to have one arranger track, you just won't be able to have multiple, which should be fine for most users. And this means that with the free Cakewalk Sonar, you still get unlimited tracks. You can still bring in your third-party plugins. It still includes the same sort of plugins that you got with Cakewalk by Bandlab. Also new in Cakewalk Sonar is the integrated sampler in here. So we could open up the sampler, drag our sounds in there, and it is nice that we finally have a sampler in here. So you can pretty much do all the same stuff that you did in Cakewalk by Bandlab, except for you get the more modernized graphics, a much more solid program that's going to continue to get updates. You get that sampler, plus more new features in Cakewalk Sonar. It's a solid program. I know for some users, Those limitations might be a little bit of a bummer, but I think for most users, this free version is more than enough. Whether you're looking for a free DAW that can help you to quickly start making music on a computer, or you want a more professional DAW that happens to be free, Cakewalk Sonar and Cakewalk Next will have you covered. And if you want to check out some of the best free plugins that you can add to these programs, click the video on the screen. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. For Audio Tech TV, I'm Zane. Keep creating. Fist bump. Thumbs up.
All right.
Fist bump, Zane. I
Thumbs
did
up.
give it a thumbs up. I would give it 2 thumbs up if YouTube would let me.
Only one each. Only one each.
You give the other one, and
Yeah.
2 barrel those thumbs.
Get them both.
Yeah. See, and that he kind of reinforces what I was thinking. Next, I could be content with the free version just for playing around, being able to integrate those. And my suspicion is that if you do have Next with Sonar, the plugins that Next actually puts in to incorporate the Bandlab effects and sounds in that case, Sonar might actually tap into those. So maybe I can get those Bandlab effects into Sonar through Next. I'm curious to try that.
Yeah. You'll have to report back and let us know.
Yeah. And it's interesting to hear that they incorporated the sampler finally into Sonar. Good job, Bandlab. Like, why not? It's useful. And I mean, granted, I also have a full-fledged sampler as a plugin, but at the same time, it's nice to have it built in and nice and simple to implement and use.
Now, were you saying that the plugin oversampling could be an issue for you?
Yes, if you are utilizing plugins and you do oversampling, I do a lot of bouncing, from VST synths and bounce to waves, and sometimes you might oversample and do things like that. And I mean, it's not a total buzzkill. It's not something that like you do a lot, but just like the time stretching, to not have it when you do need it is a little bit of a buzzkill.
He did mention that one of the time stretching that you mentioned was not there, but that there was one similar to it. It was, I didn't catch exactly what the difference was, but it sounded like there was still a time stretch available. It just wasn't the pro version of the time stretch. That
Yeah. There's a couple ways to implement it in Cakewalk, and again, I've never pushed it to the point where I'm doing something advanced with it, where like, oh, it's no longer there. But I'd be curious to see if I ran into that trying to use the free tier.
Yeah, and that's where the test should be useful.
Yeah, well, and that's why these channels are awesome, because they get to test it before I have to like implement it. So thank you, Zane and Mike. Both of you helped to like ease my troubled Cakewalk mind. I will wade into the waters this weekend with the free tiers and see how they work with some test projects that I might like convert and try out. And I'm not ready to convert them all. There's too many.
But as you're mentioning also is, with your hardware, it's also a good test to see, that everything's working with the hardware that you have there. Whereas, a user, if they're just a guitar player with an interface, the interface is going to work. So that's not a question, but knowing if it's going to interact with all of your hardware is a good test as well.
Yeah. And the main reason why I've always been happy with Cakewalk and Cubase is they have instrument files for my synthesizers. So I want to see patch names and I want to be able to select my patches in the DAW by name, not trying to guess like patch number 166 is my string sound. So the whole reason why I didn't just like run over to Reaper is I can't get my synthesizers to recognize at that level in the other DAWs.
Gotcha.
So the Cakewalk still as long as I have these keyboards, still serves them well.
Yep. Excellent.
At Audio Tech TV, awesome channel. Everybody should go check it out if you're ever buying new gear. And there's a good chance if it's the new cool gear that's out there, he's covering it.
Yep. Doing some great reviews.
Yep. And now for our last video, super important one. This was like kind of the one that like shaped all the other things I wanted to cover tonight, which, you know, when it comes to Bandlab and that agreement that you do when you create your account and those terms of services, there's a lot in there. And like most users, didn't bother to go reading through it all, just made assumptions. And most of my assumptions, I think, were on point, but you know, Miss Crystal, she is a lawyer and a musician, and when she's looking at these things, she is looking at it as a lawyer who's also understanding what it means to sign your rights away to your content and to your songs. And it's not to say that you're signing your rights away to your songs with the Bandlab terms of services, but it's also not to say that you're not. And she does a really great job here of finding all the points in the terms of services. She looked at one that was from last year. I want to say like March 24th. She's going to say it. It has been updated. So, you know, I went and looked. That's why I brought it up earlier. There is a new one, but I don't think too much has changed. The things that might have changed are the additions of some of their new services and features that they're now implementing more. Possibly some things on the distribution side. These products, nothing too major, but if you get any concerns from what you see here, I encourage you, go bring up that terms of services and really go look at the different sections she's going to talk about in here, and make sure that like you're okay with what you are agreeing to, because it is a contract.
Yep. And it's important to understand them, and that's why we're glad to have somebody with legal experience reading through it and giving us some pointers, for sure.
Yes. Any musician who cares about their art and what they're making, this channel is a must. You will get great advice. And if you ever find yourself in like that, like crazy situation where you're getting screwed by a distributor, or like your payments aren't coming through, here's the place to go. There is somebody out there that's watching out for you.
Yep.
So I wanted to mention both her channels, because I found this one and I'm like, oh my God, Miss Crystal got another channel, and I got this one from @Delgado Entertainment Law. This is her law firm's YouTube channel, and super useful information and videos here, just like she also has over at Top Music Attorney, and that's been my go-to at Top Music Attorney now since I found her. This is where we find out what our rights are and what we should be concerned about. She really does watch out for the artists out there better than anybody else on YouTube.
Yeah, and the video that we're going to be looking at is the terms of service for Bandlab, but she's also done videos on terms of service for all the other places.
She's covered it on AI terms of service. She's fighting the good fight when it comes to like what's going on with AI. I feel like, you know, she's going to be up in front of Congress or the Senate, along with guys like Rick Beato and you know, some of the big guns out there, to help them understand what's going on in this industry.
Yeah. And again, as with so many other industries, AI is going to make a huge impact on music and already is, and will continue to do so. So it's all a question of how it all affects the rights and the music and everything else.
Well, hopefully they really listen to like her and they shape these laws that need to be made in a way that works to our benefit.
Yeah.
So let's see what these terms of services really entail.
You guys asked, I answered. Today I'm going to be going through the terms of service for Bandlab. When I go through these terms of service, I'm a music attorney. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've been playing music and instruments and doing all kinds of things since I was 4. So I very much care about what these music businesses are saying in their contracts that you guys have to sign when you sign up to use these platforms. So today we're on to Bandlab, and I want to know, like, what should you be concerned about? What happens when you make music? What happens when you terminate your account? So I'm going to point out the stuff that I think is most important. This is what I do literally for my own clients. And so I'm going to share my screen, show you the terms of service, and we're going to hyper focus on the stuff that I thought was kind of like, we should pay attention to this. So without further ado, let's go. All right. So in the beginning, we always pay attention here to the date, and we're like, the terms of service were updated when? And so sometimes we've noticed that terms of service will get updated after there's some kind of problem with the company. And we even kind of got in a scuffle with one music business in particular on this channel. And we had noticed that, after sending demand letters and all kinds of things, they had updated their terms of service like 10 days later. And we're like, look, we don't know, but suspicious. So in any case, we noticed that they did update their terms of service here real recently. And for you, in the audience, whether you're watching this now or later, if you are a music attorney or an attorney at all, or someone just trying to get into, music law, I'll give you a little note. I've never done this before. I always focus on like how to help musicians and producers and independent record labels and stuff like that. But I'm gonna give you some notes because like I train my attorneys all the time. Here's one little pro tip. So right here at the very top, it's like when you see stuff that is in caps, and they put it right away. They're like, hey, just letting you know later in the agreement, there's this stuff. And what this stuff is, they're like, there's binding arbitration, you're waiving your rights to class actions. So for drafting purposes, they do that because it actually makes the contract more enforceable. Because technically, you could argue later on, you're like, hey, on page 35, I didn't see the arbitration provision. And that's a good legally sound argument to try to rebut stuff that you signed already. So anyway, going down, let me just jump to, they do all the overview. And the thing I do like about these terms is that they hyperlink to everything. They do a really nice job with this. And I'm like, I don't know, I hate to be a hater, but part of me just wonders if this is a US company. Because I'm like, I don't feel like this is a US company. I feel like these terms were written really well and generally pretty fair. There are a couple things. Anyway, so let's take a look. Here in section 2.7, so they go, we reserve the right to change our pricing list and to institute new charges at any time upon 30 days prior notice to you, which may be sent by email or posted on the services. So the reason I'm pointing that out is obviously if you use this platform, they're saying we can change the pricing anytime we want, which we don't love all by itself, but they are saying that they're going to give you notice. And so if they give you notice and you're like, no, please reach out to their support team and I'll give you the contact information. Because a part of me is like, logistically, if you're clicking on this and you're watching this, you might be a user or you might use this platform. And so I want to practically make it just like easy for you. So that's why we're doing this. They talk about membership stuff. So they go, you can terminate your membership at any time via your membership settings, and such cancellation will take effect on the day before the next of the membership period, and you will then be downgraded just to the free version. So the reason why I dig that is because for a lot of these music businesses that we've covered, they're like, as soon as you terminate, you're done. You're dead to us. And like, you're locked out of your account. It's gone forever. And at least with them, they don't do that. They're like, hey, we're letting you know you're going to get just downgraded to the free tier, but you do get to use, your account until the pay period ends. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, I kind of like that. All right, going back. So nothing too crazy there. There's lots of language here about payments and stuff like that. I read through it all. There's nothing that I was really concerned about. That's why I didn't highlight any of it. So here in general, pay out, they do make a point. They go, payments to you will only be paid when you hit your threshold. And then they hyperlink out to another document. So here's the thing. This is a 36-page terms of service, and I read it all. And within it, there's all these other contracts that it cites to, and I read those too. So what this says basically, it's like you get to set what your threshold is. If you're a user on Bandlab, You can set your threshold, and the lowest you can go is $5. CD Baby used to be like this, right? The music distributor. They used to be like that, and I think I had mine set at like $25. When I got that $25, like early in my career, I was like, winning! So anyway, refund policy, payments main are non-refundable, okay? And then they also hyperlink to another document, which is the refund policy. So here's what you need to know. If you pay money to Bandlab, technically they do say, hey, you paid, we're not gonna like give you anything back if you want it. But they do say, but we, maintain a level of discretion. Okay. So like we might, if you reach out and you plead your case to us. So there is an opportunity to get your money back if you need it. All right. So license granted to us. All right. So this is where we start paying attention to like what you upload, what you add, what you create. So this is the license with respect to the content that you give to this. Well, and they say in relation to the album service, but basically by submitting your stuff through the Bandlab service, you grant them a license that is non-exclusive. Okay, so meaning you're giving it to them, but you can give it to other companies and people. It's royalty free, so they're not going to pay you royalties other than obviously anything else that they specify, but they go, no royalties, you can't sub-license it, you can't transfer the license, you can't use and produce and distribute and display. Basically that you're going to allow them to do whatever they need with how you input it into their system. That's pretty common. So what I like to do is just to be like, look, they give these huge paragraphs and they're like, you give us all the rights in the world. And sometimes there's certain grants of rights that are just outrageous. And I'll call those out, especially if they're problematic. And I've even like with the company Lander, which is kind of similar to this. So Lander does mastering and distribution and sampling and all kinds of things. And we went through their terms and we did find some stuff. We're like, no. I ended up like actually getting on a call with their company and they agreed that they were going to like update their terms of service because they're like, oh yeah, you're right. That's probably not a good thing. So I'm always going to call it out. But there are some things where they're like, you need to just, if you're going to put your music or you're going to create stuff on our platform, we need to basically have the right to do whatever we need with that to a degree. You also grant us a worldwide, non-exclusive, royalty-free, sub-license, and transferable license to use, distribute, reproduce, copy, display your trademarks. Okay, so like your name, your logo. What was interesting here is they go, read what this means. So they hyperlink to like yet another document, and the document is this copyright overview. Here, I'll just open it for you guys so you can see. I don't know, so I thought this was kind of cool. They're like, learn about copyright. What is copyright? They go through this whole thing. I was like, okay, I kind of like this. So they're making an effort just to try to help you guys understand, like whether you read it or take the opportunity. I mean, that's up to you, but I was like, okay, that's something. But in any case, so they go, you also grant rights to other users, which kind of was a red flag to me. I'm like, what do you mean grant rights to other users? So they go with respect to content that you contribute in connection with any album service as a user of the service, you grant to other users and to the operators and users of link services a worldwide, non-exclusive, royalty-free, sub-licensable, transferable license to access, reproduce, display, publicly perform, adapt, synchronize, do all kinds of things. I mean, they just go on and on. Your content utilizing the sharing functionalities. So that's where I ask you guys. So we're live right now. For those of you who use this platform, I'm like, I read that in a vacuum. I go, okay. So there's a license being granted to other users as part of an album service. And so like practically speaking, what is that? Even if you're watching that later, drop a comment down below because I learned from you and those of you who actually use the platform. So then termination. What happens with the termination of the actual licenses? So we go, the above licenses, which you grant to us and other users, will terminate within a commercially reasonable and practicable time after you remove or delete your content from the service. So basically, if you stop using them, they're saying we are going to stop using your stuff. And I'm like, I don't know the context of how they actually use it, but I go, that's reasonable. At least they're saying here, unlike some of these other platforms that we've read, where they just go, you grant us an irrevocable, perpetual, like forever, ever, you can never terminate. That's what we usually read. So the fact that they're saying something like, no, we're going to terminate it at some point, that's reasonable. All right, so they go to 3.5, it's linked services. So just so you guys know, when you see, and this is again for my lawyers or people who want to think like lawyers, when you see capitalized words, right? So you see capital L and capital S, that means this phrase is defined somewhere. And so I'm like, we haven't read this yet. So I literally would do like on, I'm on PC. So I'll do a search like this and you put in quotation marks and you search linked services and it will take you to where it is. And this happens to be at the very, very end of the document. So that's where I found it. So that's like a pro tip on how these contracts work, how to find the words if you haven't seen that before. So basically, they're like link services means any external service to which your music has been submitted through the functionalities of the service. So going on the ownership of other people's content, any content made available on the service other than your music remains the property of that user, of course. Allegedly, they're like, you can't download it, reproduce it, send it, distribute it. I'm pointing this stuff out. It's kind of dry, to be honest, but I'm pointing this stuff out because it is different than like some of these other contracts that we have read for services that do similar stuff, including the AI platforms. Because like on the AI platforms, they go, well, just FYI, you are not only giving us a license to like make and reproduce and promote the fact that you used our platform, like without your authorization, you're not only giving us these rights, but your music that you input into our systems may actually end up getting spit out into other people's music. And so when we see stuff like that in their actual contracts and they're like disclosing it, we get worried. So that's why conversely, when I'm looking at this, I'm like, it's really like, they're just like, we're going to try to be reasonable and good timing on things. And I'm happy to see that. Okay. So I always want to be fair. I always want to be honest with you guys about what I'm seeing. So moving on, let's see in the chat. Drizzle Music, there's people who upload music packs, samples to Bandlab. So I'm thinking some of what we're reading pertains to them. Okay. All right. Good to know. All right. So section 4, the services are proprietary to us. You may not, and you may not authorize any third party directly or indirectly under any circumstances to. And then there's a big list. They're like, don't use and sell and reverse engineer our services, but also don't use what we give you to deceive, to be fraudulent, to do something illegal. Okay. And that would include accessing your music on our services or submitting via distribution services to third-party platforms to generate plays. So they're like, no fake plays. So I'm like, all right, that's interesting. So just like with our music distributor contracts that we've gone through, where they are very detailed on what's going to happen to you if you pay for bots, if you pay for fake streams, and then the consequences of that, right? And so because Bandlab does provide distribution services, we are still looking in that critical kind of mindset of, okay, so what happens if you do, right? Because that was one of our problems. We go, well, we're not advocating for people to go and juice the system and pay for fake streams and defraud listeners and stuff like that. We're not into that, but equally with music distributors, what we don't like is that most of them say, well, if you do, and we catch you, or we allege that you did, even if they don't have proof. That's part of where I've run into problems as your guys' like attorney to handle these issues. But anyway, they're like, we're going to take your royalties. We're taking your royalties and we're not going to, release them to you. And so we've run into problems where we have artists who just have tens of thousands of dollars in royalties that the distributor's like, oh, we're just going to take it now. So that's why we're paying attention where it's like, okay, we don't allow fake plays. So then what happens is our question. All right, moving on, 4.2.8. So you cannot use any AI generated output from the Bandlab services to develop machine learning models or related AI technology. Okay, so does anyone use, is there an AI function on this platform? If so, what do you think? Any breach of the aforementioned restrictions shall result in the immediate and automatic termination of all rights and licenses granted here under. All right, so, in the worst case scenario that we're looking at that, you do something bad on the Bandlab platform, they reserve the right to terminate your account, any license that's been granted. But now here's where I go, all right, they literally just said that. Taking that as true, there are other services we're going to talk about. They do sampling. They will license beats. And so, I go, that's pretty harsh because if you have paid to license a beat, so that is what it says in practical effect. I don't know if that's what they actually do, but that is what it says. Ren, not Ren, says, I've not seen an AI option, but it's possible they added something. Sometimes we catch companies because they add information in their terms of service before they haven't actually rolled it out. So maybe this is something new. Who knows? A lot of Bandlab is collaborations with others. Remixes, haven't used it in years. Okay, that's cool that you can do collaborations. That would make sense. So then with the file sharing, the information sharing, that's why they're addressing it in the terms of service. So Bandlab has AI mastering. Okay, good to know. Thanks, guys. Okay, album services. If you like to use the album service, if you're an artist, you like to use the service, you will be able to distribute your music through the album service to users that want to download your music. Okay, and then it goes into this diatribe of we're not responsible for what you give to them. If there's problems, it's not our fault. But anyway, Bandlab will not have any ownership in your music. Okay, that's good to know. However, each artist uploading musical works to the album service grants us, again, they go on the sub-licensable, we can distribute worldwide, non-exclusive, royalty-free, big old paragraph. All right, so let's just move on. They go, the right to manage the album services, Bandlab retains the right, but does not have any obligation to halt the offering of your downloads, to prevent or restrict the access. So there's very hands off with these platforms. Again, this is normal, what we do see, where they're just like, look, I mean, to a degree, like, we're not really paying attention to what happens. That's not what they say, but that's basically what they're saying. And they're like, you are using the platform as is, we're not responsible. So just take that with a grain of salt and understand that is what these contracts say. All right, so they talk about the sound service. I'm like, oh, okay, it's like Splice 2.0. So the sound service provides a library of sound samples. Users will create content from, and they can do it for personal or commercial purposes. I read that. I was like, why can't everything just be that simple? Because we just got into it with Splice. We got quite into it with Splice this year, and they ended up, filing a copyright strike on one of our videos because they weren't happy with what we were saying. It's been resolved at this point, but they just aren't totally clear. And some of these companies are not totally clear with, they go, you can use our platforms and download our sounds. But then it's like, how can you use them? How far does that permission go? Because what I want for you guys is that if you're going to use beats and samples in the music that you make, I hope your stuff goes viral. I hope you make millions of dollars on your music. And if you do, great. Like, I will come and help you. And when we go to sell your music later on, it's so important that the chain of title for your music is cleared. So just meaning like you really do own it. And so sometimes what pops up is that there's a problem with the license that you got for the beat. There's a problem with the sample, right? And that ends up being like it was the biggest sample in like the whole song. So it really does matter. And I think way down the line, because I want you guys to think like that as well. Imagine you're going to be successful, because why are you doing this otherwise? All right. So in any case, they do actually just say here, they're like, you can, if you use the sounds on our platform, you can use them for personal and commercial purposes. Great. Love it. Users who use our sounds, they get a worldwide, non-exclusive, royalty-free license to reproduce, adapt, sync, prepare derivative work. So derivative works, just so you guys know, is, the fancy legal term for making something based on what you made. So you make a song, and the song is called The Willow Tree. And the Willow Tree, you want to have people remix it. So people who make remixes on your Willow Tree, it's called a derivative of your Willow Tree song. Okay, so like the remix would be something that came from your original. So what they say is they go, it's okay. Like you can, if you have the sound that you downloaded and then you can make derivatives of it, no worries. So I'm like, okay, great. So far so good. And then they do provide a full paragraph on prohibited uses. And just so you guys know, like the bottom line with most of these prohibited uses for sampling, it's usually like common sense stuff. Like, please don't repackage this. Don't make a sample pack. Don't just sell the one sound to someone else. So you can't use that. The idea is to take our thing, to incorporate it into your great new thing, but it's supposed to be a part of it. It's not the only thing. We also don't want you going and like reselling just the thing in, oversimplified kind of way. That's what their prohibited uses section says. You have an option to export Bandlab into MP3 or WAV files and a few other file types as well. Okay, good to know. They have basic AI idea generator that creates 4 stems. Oh, look at this. Bandlab mastering is a joke, turns your WAV files to MP3s. I don't know, to be honest, every time I've heard about AI mastering, I'm like, isn't it like terrible? But I've heard you guys say that there are platforms that are pretty good. Like I had one music producer who uses Lander, which is how I heard of Lander in the first place before actually doing the full review for you guys. And he said it's great, that the quality is really good. But I've also heard a lot of criticism about AI mastering. So look, going back to this, so that's the prohibited use. All right, so there's a boost service. I just cracked up laughing when I got to this because this is how I call boosting. Like when you juice it, I've always called it, like for social media, for music platforms, I call it boosting. And I've never heard anyone say that before. And I was reading it, I'm like, they call it boosting. It's a service. So anyway, in the boosting service, they will like basically prioritize and help you with setting up a campaign, right, to boost certain posts so members can see and you can get like activity and interest on what you're doing. But of course, they don't guarantee any results. Okay, fair enough. They also have a fan reach service. So fan reach allows you to access or limited access to contact users via multiple forms of communication. And I saw this and I go, guys, like okay, if there's a service for this, this is awesome, but please let me just take a moment to remind you that you should be doing this yourself. Like literally a company is telling you how you promote yourself, which is your fan reach, your email list, getting numbers so you can like contact your fans if you like to text, like whatever. I'm a big fan of email lists because you have control over your audience. If you have a new release coming out, don't rely on what the algorithm is going to show someone for the day, right? If you have 200 people who are interested in what you're doing, you can email 200 people and they will know about your release. So anyway, in the fan reach service, I'm promoting to you to do it yourself. But anyway, if you guys have used this before, please let me know. Let's go. No guarantees, of course, on any outcome. Okay, I wanted to mention this. They have a pro feedback service and they go, well, this is something where you can pay to get written feedback from an acclaimed industry expert, such as producers and mix and mastering engineers. And look, I don't mean to be cheeky with my tone, okay? But I'm just like, I've been in the music industry doing my own thing since I was a teenager, okay? But I've been like playing music and I learned classical and all this good stuff when I was like 4. When I really started taking my music career seriously, and I had the same mindset that everyone else does at some point, which is I need to find a manager. I just need to find an agent. I just need to get with a record label. And I went through all those motions and, you know, realized that it doesn't actually move the needle. You don't actually need those people. And in fact, it's the worst time to be trying to find those people if you got nothing going on. Those people come to you when you are regularly posting and you're building your fan base and you're putting out good music. So having someone to give you some feedback feels so good. And that's why, you know, I understand it's an incredible, important value to get some feedback and have that sense of community. That's why we do what we do here on the YouTube channel. But in any case, I was just like, I don't know how much this costs, but I would rather someone pay to get that feedback from customers, right? So from fans, meaning just put out a damn song and then you'll get your feedback. If it sucks, they'll tell you. But also the best way to get feedback in general is just go. Get your reps in. And the faster that you go, the faster that you fail, the faster you're going to find the stuff that works. And you're going to find the fans that dig you and dig your music. So that's my 2 cents. If you are someone that is needing help in the music business, at the end of this video, you can check out topmusicattorney.com. I have courses, I have free stuff just to kind of get you started. If you do want to deep dive, if you do want to train with me, I always say go through my music business program, which is how to think like a record label, become a record label. And then if you do want to get into touch with me or one of my lawyers, we got you covered. All right, moving on. Let's go. If anyone, uses this as a service, good for you. Like no problems. Try all the things. I tried all the things. I spent like $200,000 on my music career over many years, which is why I do this, just to tell you guys like what is a waste of time, quite frankly. All right, so then we get to the distribution services. So sound recordings will be distributed on 3P. These are third-party platforms. Okay, so you give us all the rights to your music so that we can distribute it. So the distribution licensing fee will consist of where users are a member and they receive relevant distribution proceeds. They do have a tier where you get 100% of proceeds. Awesome. Where user is not a member of Bandlab, then you will only get 80% of distribution proceeds. And for some of you who are curious about distribution deals in general, typically when we're negotiating, 20% off the top for the distributor is pretty common, okay? If you're doing a share, because as you know, with a lot of these platforms, they will just take a fee and they'll just like distribute your music and they don't take a percentage. And sometimes there are platforms that don't take a fee, but they take a percentage. So in any case, 20%, pretty common, maybe a little bit more, but you can renegotiate. Here's your pro tip. If you've been with a platform and let's say it's like a year term in your contract, when that year comes up, email, whatever, Symphonic. Hey, Symphonic. It's been great. I've been with you for a while. I really would love to stay on your platform and I would like the percentage reduced so that it is now, 85, 15, 90, 10. So just know that you can renegotiate as you go. Just ask. What's the worst that could happen? All right, moving on. Beat stores. So this is where they go in. And I do want to make a special note about this because it applies not just to this platform, but on this platform, once again, they hyperlink out to a whole new agreement, which I also read. And so they go basically for the licenses that you want to get from us, for loops, for instrumentals. Cool, we gotcha. One thing about this platform is that Bandlab actually owns these beats, right? So whereas some of these other platforms that we've reviewed, they are basically the intermediary company. So there's producers uploading their beats and then you're licensing from those producers, but that's not the case here. I thought it was interesting that Bandlab actually owns the beats. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is I go, well, the biggest problem that I have with licensing beats is that there's always a term, meaning, you don't just get it for the life of your song, the life of your copyright, whatever. And so that is in fact the case here. I read the license agreement and it's for 10 years. And I was just like, ugh, it's fine. In the short term, it's a quick solution, but you can't transfer it, right? Your license, you cannot sell it, but you can sub-license it. I don't know. So, for me, from you, my music producers out there, or for my artists who are like trying to find a producer to work with, my goal is like try to connect you guys. So I'm like, I really want you guys just like having ownership of your music. It just gives more things that you can do with it, more money that you can make. And that's what I want for you. All right. So Bandlab retains all rights of ownership to the beats. They are the maker. They are the owner. And then, all right, so now let's get into the stuff where you guys are let's get some real big, lawyer brains on you. Okay, so limitation of liability. So we are under no obligation to monitor or review content submitted on our platform. Let me just take a quick beat right there. Do you remember how we covered on the channel just very recently how TuneCore is getting sued by the major record labels for $500 million? And what the major record labels are saying is they're like, people are using your platform and they are infringing our copyright and you know about it, you're allowing them. And so this is a little bit of a warning. If Bandlab is watching this, you may want to update your terms to not say this. Because if you're like, we have no obligation to monitor, that gives the impression that you are not actually monitoring the content that is submitted onto your platform. And guess what? Major record labels are now using that against these companies to sue and be like, well, you know what? If you don't pay us, we're seeking copyright infringement, statutory damages in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Not that I'm the lawyer for Bandlab, but I would just make mention of that to watch out. No reps and warranties. The services and the content are provided as is. So for all y'all using Bandlab, whatever happens to you is at your own risk. Also, the access and or the use of content and or service by you agree will not infringe the rights of third parties. And then also you promise that your use of the services is lawful. So here's what I kind of laughed at. Look, it starts here. It's like, here's all the things that we're saying we're not responsible for, and you make promises. And they go, so 6.1, going. These are all the things you're promising. And I mean, I read all this, okay? And a lot of it is like boilerplate standard stuff, but it's just like the reality of these music businesses. They are really doing everything in their power to make sure that it's like impossible for you to sue them because you're like disclaiming and waving and you're like, I promise I will raise heaven and earth. All right. But in any case, there's a couple other things that I kind of caught as I continued reading. We're now on page 22 of this. Okay. So we get here, they talk about DMCA. They have this whole copyright procedure. And I just wanted to address something because for the TuneCore situation, I don't have the nicest things to say about TuneCore, but if I was representing them, the way I would handle that complaint by the major record labels is that I would file what's called a motion to dismiss. And I file a motion to dismiss and I go, pursuant to the Copyright Act, it's 17 USC 512. There's what's called safe harbor for these music distributors. If someone gets on your platform and distributes something that infringes the rights of, Ariana Grande, the distributor has safe harbor. They don't get sued as well. They have like the little white flag and they're like, no, we're cool, pursuant to the Copyright Act, because of that statute I just told you about. So anyway, that's why they have this in here, just so you know, lawyers out there, they have this in here because they go, hey, we have a whole policy. This is how we handle copyright claims. This is how we take things down. And by doing that, that's how they can have this safe harbor. So that's how that works. All right, but anyway, I did catch a couple things that made me laugh. So this one right here, they're like meetups. Bandlab has an active community of users, many of whom may from time to time organize and attend face-to-face meetings at venues all over the world, defined as meetups. We do not sponsor, oversee, or in any way control such meetups. And this goes on to be like, so you acknowledge that these meetups, it's totally at your risk. We bear no responsibility for the actions of the other participants and all that. I don't know. I'm like, something happened, guys. This is what I'm saying to you. The reason why in these contracts you will see something is because usually something happened. So I'm just like, what happened? That someone was like, hey, I got to tell legal to add in this section so that moving forward when people get together. Anyway, okay, so there was that. And then there's also promotions. They go, we're not a sponsor. There's all these promotions that, competitions that users and third parties do. But if you do wish to run your own third-party competition, you can email help@bandlab.com. I wanted to point that out. I don't know, maybe someone watching this would find that helpful. So you can do that. Also, there's other helpful resources I'll go over in a sec. Termination. We can terminate at our sole and absolute discretion. Okay, that's normal. They go, the consequence of termination is that if termination happens, all rights and licenses granted under the terms of this use shall immediately cease and terminate. So again, I just always go back to keep that in mind for how you use these platforms. Okay, is that going to impact you in some kind of way? Because we looked at like Splice and we go, well, if you've paid all this money and you have all these credits, if it says upon termination, you're locked out of your account and you can't use these credits and you're not going to get a refund, we can only assume what that means. So based on your use of this platform, just keep that in mind. If you want to terminate, you just email support@bandlab.com. And then also here's the address. Okay. And then, one thing we notice, we go, oh, look, Singapore, right? Asia. So let's talk about that because that actually makes a big difference here. Your content upon termination, once your account has been terminated, all content residing in your account or pertaining to activity from your account except for user comments which you have made or posted, the content that you have shared with other users which have not been deleted will within a commercially reasonable time be deleted. Okay, good to know. And then look, little drafting point for whoever wrote these terms, because I actually, kudos, whoever drafted these did a pretty good job. I have no problem calling out attorneys when they haven't drafted something very well, but they did a nice job. One of the oversights here is just in this section, just so you know, for the survival of terms, it goes, if this contract is terminated, here's the stuff that still applies to you. And what they didn't add in here is this section, section 4.5. So basically what that means is if the contract is terminated, all this stuff, they're like, hey, all these provisions should survive. The actual provision that makes all that stuff survive gets terminated. Does that make sense? So that's something else that they need to update in this. I meant section 14.5 right here. Last couple of things. Here's the designated DMCA stuff that I talked about, all the process, safe harbor. And then we always wonder, and this was a question I had at the very top of the document, because typically, let me go to it. Typically at the top, it goes, who's the company that you're doing this contract with? So it goes, this is between you, and then it just said Bandlab. I'm like, why does it say Bandlab? Normally it's like Bandlab, headquarters, corporation, I don't know, some fancy name and, a Delaware company. So normally it actually says what the company is, where they're based, stuff like that. And it didn't say that. I'm like, that's weird. Why is that? So anyway, we get to the end of the contract here, and it goes, this contract shall be construed in accordance with Singapore law. I'm like, oh boy. So actually this is, if you're in the US, this is in a completely different country, and they have, this process for, you have to informally negotiate if there's a problem. And then if informal negotiations don't work out, you have to go into arbitration. And there's a whole process through the Federal Arbitration Act. And then remember at the very beginning, friends, where I was like, they pointed out stuff that was really important that came up on page 30, which included, you promise that we're going to arbitrate. You promise that you're waiving the right to a jury trial. Okay. You also promise that you can't bring a class action. So here we are now on page 30, and here's the language. Okay. Now let me just make sure. I think there was one other thing. You can opt out of the arbitration agreement. So once you sign up on Bandlab, you have 30 days to let them know if you want to opt out. Okay. And what you have to do is you will, in fact, let's be clear about this. You must send a written notification that indicates your account username, your name, your email address, a clear statement indicating you do not wish to resolve claims through arbitration. You can't assign any rights under this agreement. They can assign rights if they sell the company, let's say, to someone else. Here's the actual company name. Okay, so finally here, 18.13 on page 34. And scene. All right, so look, quick wrap up and rapid fire thoughts here. Actually, one of the better terms of service that I've been through. I'm usually horrified, mortified, distressed, losing sleep, sweating a lot when I read these terms of service because they're just like terrible. And this one was pretty middle of the road, nothing that I was really concerned about. Plus, some of the language was relatively reasonable. So look, for those of you using Bandlab, obviously I want you to educate me. Let me know your thoughts about your experience on the platform, because there's the experience on the platform and there's customer service. And I always want to know, how is it going with your actual use. If you're dealing with a company that's in another country, it can in fact make it challenging to basically, deal with international issues. And I can tell you that as, and an entertainment attorney, we do international deals all the time. And I have to tell people, I'm like, look, if you're going to do a deal with someone who's in France, cool. If we're here in the United States and there's a problem, you have to think about that. If it says we have to go to France, it's going to be complicated. So anyway, guys, make sure you subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. I'm Top Music Attorney.
Mm-hmm. Just like that.
And just like this. No, now I'm a bottom. Now I'm a top.
We can fix it. Just like that. Always great information. And again, I love the way that she goes through all the language and really highlights the important things as well as highlighting things that, are not problematic or things that, she sees some contracts, they say, oh, you have to pay every year and this and that. And they're saying, oh, this is for 10 years. And, it's not the best. It's not forever, but it's a significant jump up from what a lot of the others require.
Yeah. And I like that she was fair with it, not she's not tearing it apart. The fact that she's not overly concerned actually eased my mind as well. Tonight has been a great night of easing Tony's mind
Nice.
to concerns, with Bandlab and things like the terms, Cakewalk. A lot of these do make me feel like it's not as bad as I thought. Little overreacting, jumping the gun. She really does address the important things to consider.
Yeah. And again, a lot of it comes down to the ownership. And when it came to, when you collaborate with people and all of that, and the stuff that you input into the platform, the rights that you have on those things versus the rights that you have on things such as the loops that you're pulling from the platform and utilizing in your stuff, that makes a difference, and it should make a difference. And it's good that they point out, the differences there.
Yeah, the one thing I would have liked to see her mention more was the forking aspect, although I don't think she's familiar with it.
Right,
but
exactly.
She did cover the area where it does talk about collaborative artists, in the album section and in those areas where the forking and putting out tracks on an album where there's multiple artists involved. Bandlab does keep track of who's part of the songs and the projects. So some of these terms did address when you're using content that is not solely yours, but in conjunction with others.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And how to deal with the different rights.
Yeah. And the thing that I would have liked to have seen more on that with the forking is when you do put up say your original piece and make it forkable, you are giving away a right there, and you should understand that. You should actually, like I said, my assumptions were not that far off from what the terms of services say.
Yeah. And again, they did get into it a little bit with derivative works, in that language, just because anything that's going to be forked, if you put something out forkable, you're saying that you're allowing people to take that and make derivative works from that. And again, it should be without removing, the fact that it's yours. They shouldn't take it as their own and then not credit you for your part in that. And that's where the fork maintains that chain of custody, let's say, of that clip back to the location, the original location.
Yeah. And these are the kinds of things that you're not going to see major changes as they come out with new terms of services. Like I said, the one she was going was on last year's. The one that came out earlier this spring likely hasn't changed any of the things she was talking about there. All of that is pretty straightforward. It's probably been there going back to the original terms of services. The new additions are likely to be focused more on these member services, and as AI is being incorporated more. The one she was looking at, they had just come out with the song starter, and you know, the AI issue wasn't what it is now. So if you do see a change in that and you do go through it, you're likely to see that be part of the future changes.
Yep. And it could even just be corrections. Like she was saying, like, you know, she noticed that that one section talking about the other sections that don't expire, itself expires. So like, you know, something like that might just be a minor correction that has to be thrown in for a modification.
No, that's why it's awesome to actually have like a real lawyer out there who really looks at it. In the time it would have took me to read the entire thing, I got to learn what it is and get advice as we went through it without having to actually like read word for word and interpret it myself.
Exactly. It helps to have somebody digest it for us ahead of time and give us the bullet points of where our focus should be and the things that matter to us about what's in the terms.
Yes, I do want to think like a lawyer, Miss Crystal.
Absolutely.
So that's at Delgado Entertainment Law. That's her firm's website, and awesome videos there that actually deal not just with the music industry, but you know, social media as a whole. They're experts in like content and social media law. So even if you're not a musician, like this site is like good advice from all over the platforms. And she's also got at Top Music Attorney, where she focuses more on the musical side of lawyerism.
Yeah, absolutely. The intersection of music and law.
Yeah, absolutely recommended site. Like if you do care about yourself as an artist, follow.
Absolutely. Because we do.
Yes, and we will continue to.
That's right. That's right. Now, as you mentioned, we have the WAG coming up next week, right? So.
Yep. The WAG is getting ready to roll tomorrow night. Ange is going to actually start to pick the teams and get the genres. So they're going to start finding out over the weekend who they're getting paired up with, what genres they're going to have. And next week, we're going to be going into some of the spotlights on the contestants. She's got, you know, some interviews and some videos she's put together to introduce the contestants. So you're going to be seeing a whole bunch of wagging for the next couple of months.
Nice. Busy, busy, busy.
Yeah, some good music's going to get made with these contestants. We have a wide range of musicians in this one.
Nice. Always good to see what they come up with.
Yep. So we'll see you tomorrow night to get some more previews on those contestants and sneak peeks. Ange will be coming on and letting them know like where they're going to be going and what they're going to be doing. And by Monday, we should start seeing some of those balls roll in.
Nice. Everybody get to wagging. And thanks for joining us on Talkin Shhh I.T. Good night, everybody.
We'll see you tomorrow.
We cover digital audio workstations and music tools. We explore theory, gear, and 82. How to arrange, compose, and the art of arranging. Taking a look at AI and how the times have changed. On a PC or a Mac and even with a mobile device, we'll be talking about it all every Thursday night. From software to plugins and synths that entice. Dive deep into tech and let creativity take flight. Talkin IT. We're talking IT. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. From bedroom producers to seasoned pros, we're breaking it down so knowledge grows. Whether you're a DJ or a beat making wizard, we got the tips and tricks to make your sound sizzle. Mixing and mastering, that's our jam. With the tutorials and tips on how much RAM. Get the best quality from your setup and gear. Tune in every week and lend us your ear. We're talking IT. and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. We're talking shh,